Forgot we got to do that too.
Yep. And all right, that'll be okay. We are live on Facebook. Let's go ahead and let's hit this intro.
Let's do it.
You know those two guys from work who won't shut up about football, but are pretty damn entertaining? Well, they decided to buy a couple microphones. And with that, we welcome you to the Cheesy Corn Sports Podcast, where Justin Adams and Martin Cheney wrangle over everything college football and NFL. Bold predictions, hot takes, and live game reactions. This is Cheesy Corn Sports. And now, here's your hosts, Justin and Martin.
Hello, everybody. I felt like talking in my radio voice to start this off. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Cheesy Corn Sports. I'm Justin Adams, as usual, and then my partner in crime, Martin Cheney. Martin, how's it going today, man?
It's good. I have survived the man cold, the headache, whatever you want to call it, that kept me out last week. I'm a survivor. That is what I will do. I will survive, and now I'm back.
Yeah, I told the story last week that you just fell out of bed, hit your head on a wall. That's what we were rolling with. Most people probably thought you were hungover, but I tried to defend your honor there.
Thank you. What little honor is left? Absolutely.
Yeah, and then everybody had to deal with what my sorry excuse for a show was. That was exciting. Everybody kind of got to witness the growing pains of me doing it solo with a long period of like a 12-minute darkness on the stream. It's I wouldn't have it any other way. I didn't even edit the final product because I wanted everybody to get the full taste of what I was dealing with. So, All right. So today's show, we're going to go over a few different things today. We're going to start with a brief kind of overview of college football. Then we're going to go ahead and get into the NFL action. We're going to start out with some of the big games. We're not going to touch too much on the games, but we're going to go over a lot of fantasy stuff for you to get your lineups ready, get you primed and ready for betting, get you ready for setting your lineups. What we think who might be helpful this week, and then going forward, just some tips on who we think we should be buying, selling, holding, or getting rid of altogether. So without further ado, I guess we can go ahead and get started on the biggest game of the Saturday college football slate, and that was, of course, Tennessee and Georgia. So go ahead and give me your thoughts on that one.
I think Tennessee finally learned why Georgia was number one. Before this week, they learned why Georgia was undefeated last year. And it all comes down to the defense, right? Georgia just was on another level as far as the defense goes, and the offense didn't falter. Tennessee, who is known coming into this game for their offense, Hernan Hooker, was Jalen Hyatt, I believe his name is, that was the hype. There was no hype surrounding the defense. And so when the offense ran into a wall, AKA the Georgia defense, they had nowhere else to go. Versus Georgia, they are a force to be reckoned with on both sides of the ball. If one falls, the other one is resilient enough to continue and go forward.
Yeah. Kind of my similar thoughts on there. It's just Georgia coming in this game. I thought maybe there'd be a slight glimmer of hope that Tennessee, with the momentum they're riding and stuff like that, could be able to kind of just put something together. But the flaw in Tennessee's team this entire season has been defense. And I mean, that team was like Swiss cheese there. I mean, Stetson Bennett was just picking them apart. They couldn't stop the run. I'm telling you, every run I saw, each running back, I swear, was breaking 2 to 3 tackles each before they were even brought a second hat to them. Like it was like they were just running through arm tackle, and then they finally bring a couple defenders, and it take 2 or 3 of them to get them down every single time. Yeah, I don't know what was going on defensively there. Like, again, I know Tennessee's weakness is their defense, but I mean, I'm talking wide open, like blown coverages left and right, guys just in space, and I just had no idea what defensively their positioning was. They tightened it up a little bit later in the game, but in that first half, like it was just like they couldn't stop anything. And I mean, Stetson Bennett is good, but what he was doing to them was wild to me, because my thought on it was I was like, okay, we got Hendon Hooker going. Maybe they can ride his momentum, and then you're going against Stetson Bennett. So while your defense isn't all that great, it's Stetson Bennett at the end of the day. So take that for what it is. Like, Stetson Bennett, to me, he's a good game managing quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but he's not. He's not like one of the Bryce Young, Hendon Hooker, C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams type of quarterbacks. He's just a very good, effective game manager, which is I mean, clearly all Georgia needs right now. I mean, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He goes out there and he puts drives together. He leans on his running game. And actually this one, I mean, it was more so their passing game. It was surprising to me. It was, because I was expecting them to lean heavy on the run, but I mean, Tennessee's pass defense, it's abysmal. And Tennessee, for what it's worth, they're still really good, of course. Georgia's just had time to build the depth and build the experience and build the depth in these big game situations. They've been there and they've done that. And I think Tennessee just came out and got punched in the mouth and didn't really know how to respond. But yeah, Georgia, just more complete team. They controlled this game. The score wasn't even as close as the 27-13 indicated, honestly. This could have been 42-7, and I would have, felt the same about it. But yeah, so Hooker, not a good game. 195 yards, one pick, 60 QBR. Stetson Bennett, 17 for 25, 257 yards. So Georgia takes care of business, and I'm sure they'll be sliding back up to the number one slot.
Yeah, and you really touched on the main piece on Stetson Bennett for me. He is a game manager. He's, and again, that is all Georgia needs, but he doesn't make mistakes. Like, he is not going to be the one that loses that game. He might not be the one to fully take over and win you the game. He did play very well. But he's not going to turn the ball over. He's not, he's not going to repeatedly turn the ball over. And he's just good enough to put the ball in Georgia's playmakers' hands. And that's what he did. That's all he had to do. And good on you, Georgia.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's got like three interceptions total on the season. So 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So again, nothing crazy, nothing to write home about, nothing flashy, but he does when he understands the team he's on, and he stays within himself. Doesn't try to do too much, doesn't try to get carried away, making something out of nothing, live to fight another down, and he does that very well. So all right, so we'll go ahead and get into the other big game of the college football slate, and it was the night game, and
UCLA and ASU. Got it.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly where I was going with that one. Well, I mean, there's ASU ties here, but let's go LSU Bama. You had a little bit more of an eye on this one because I was watching the World Series, but yeah. So what'd you think about this?
I thought it was a terrific game. That it was one of those games that's what you expect when you watch two top college football teams go at each other. It was hard fought throughout the game, and then both offenses picked it up at the very end. Jaden Daniels knows he doesn't quite have the arm and the decision making of Bryce Young. So what does he do instead? He uses his feet. And that's something that LSU really did well, is they kept using the multi-pointed attack of this LSU offense and Jaden Daniels by letting him make easy throws, never putting him in a bad situation. And when the defense wasn't giving it to them, take off with your feet. And that's exactly what he did. He ended up on the first play of LSU's possession in overtime, read option, took off. He actually, on the read option, should have gave the ball to the running back, but he's that athletic enough. He was able to get outside and take off, followed some good blocks by the receiver. And, one play, 25 yards in for the touchdown. They went for 2. I don't hate the call at all to go for 2. It's one of those, look, you're playing Alabama. You're either going to win or you're going to lose. Let's get this over with now. And yeah, it looked like the exact same play that Deshaun Watson and Clemson used to beat Alabama in the national championship years ago. Just a little out route there, and or not even out, just a little flat route over to I think Mason Taylor or Miles Taylor, or whatever his name was, number 86, which I learned is the son of Jason Taylor, former Miami Dolphins legend. So
I didn't know that.
Tony, get out of these comments, bro. He said good morning. No one cares about AS who.
I have to agree. You have
I will say this last piece. Every time I turn the TV on and it's an LSU game, it hurts to see Jaden Daniels be great, because that was something I was dying for 3 seasons at ASU. It's just Herm Edwards and the coaching staff just couldn't get it done as far as his development and the play calling to really showcase that ability. And LSU's doing a good job. And Jaden Daniels has put on a hell of a season for an LSU team that I didn't think was going to be getting more than 5 or 6 wins this year.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway from this all is the fact that LSU. Not a lot of people expected anything out of this team, and they come out of the gates right now and they're 7-2 and they're about to be in the top 10. Well, they're in the top 10, but they're about to be well within the top 10. Probably slide to number 8. And yeah, it's Jaden Daniels. That's the biggest thing. He was the biggest piece this offseason, of course. And kind of like you said, it hurts to watch him do it with somebody else. Exactly what you thought, exactly what everybody thought he was going to be at ASU. He had this ability, and everybody knew he had this ability. It's just almost like he wasn't at ASU. It was either like he was trying too hard because they weren't putting him in the right situations and would just end up turning the ball over a ton. I don't know. It's just like a completely different player. On this LSU team, and that's because they let him flow free in the offense, like 95 yards rushing yesterday. I did go back and watch highlights of the game and stuff like that, and yeah, I agree. The 2-point conversion was one of those where it seemed like, okay, like listen, LSU is really good, right? But I still think Alabama's the better team, and yes. I think LSU knows that the longer that game goes on, the more likely they are to maybe not get that extra stop or to not slip up. So they're like, listen, it's typical with an underdog, right? An underdog typically, let's say they feel themselves wearing down or something like that. Late on the road, they come down, they tie a game against, say it's an unranked opponent against a top 15 team, right? They come down, they tie. They're like, listen, we're fighting for our lives in here. We're lucky to be here just because, we didn't do a lot of luck. So we're going to go for the kill right now. We're not going to let this go to overtime. We're not going to stretch this thing out and give ourselves a chance to lose. So, yeah, it's one of those calls that like it worked great. If it doesn't, there's a lot of questions. But, I love the call. I love the fact that they just went for it. And, yeah, like you said, it worked out. It was it was close there. He kind of backed his butt up in the end zone there a little bit, caught it on the kind of the way back. But yeah, similar, just a little almost like a little out or a little hitch route. He just caught it right there in the edge and just was able to keep driving through. And yeah, it's a good game. I wish I would have been able to watch it all the way through. I was watching it on and off, but towards the end of the World Series, I kind of just tuned away from it. But yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, 99 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, of course, is going to do what he does. Bryce Young, not the most efficient game. He had 328 yards, 25 for 51 passing, which is not ideal. Mm-hmm. So yeah, LSU, man, old Brian Kelly, man. They're actually doing something, and they were kind of a joke coming into the year with old Brian Kelly out there grinding on recruits and doing his thing. So, all right, anything else on that one?
Nope, not that I'm thinking of.
All right, cool. So we'll go ahead and move on to one last game here. That I want to touch on. It's Clemson and Notre Dame. The only reason I want to touch on this one is because it finally happened. And
we've been saying it for weeks.
2 weeks ago, I said that Clemson was either going to lose to to Notre Dame or Miami because they're pretenders. And we're breaking down their schedule a couple weeks ago on the first episode. I said they were going to lose to either Notre Dame or Miami, and lo and behold, they lost to Notre Dame. So
frauds.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if you have any opinions on that one, but I did just want to point out that the fact that they lost, which we needed to happen for people to realize that, like, hey, they're not that good. They're not Clemson of old, right? They haven't shown to be. So why do we have them in the playoff? Like, that whole thing was just insane to me, how we had them in the playoff of all.
I'm so happy that they lost now. And it's better for college football this way, because if they had finished the year undefeated and gotten into the college football playoff, right?
Yep.
They would have gotten just straight up shellacked in the first round of the college football playoff. And it wouldn't have even been close. It didn't matter who they played. It didn't matter if they were playing Georgia, Tennessee. It wouldn't have mattered if they were playing Ohio State, Alabama, whoever makes it into there. All those teams win by a lot in that game. I will give credit to Notre Dame, who seem to have turned their season around. They kind of, at least, they're still not the top football team, but they did turn it around from a very embarrassing opening to the season with their new coach and his tenure there. They turned it around. This goes for Oregon too, and Bo Nix, who put on a hell of a season after getting beat down by Georgia. Yeah. They turned it around. They caught their stride. They figured out what they do well, and they stuck to it. We talked about it in weeks past, with Penn State and Michigan. What do they do well? Oh, they run the ball well. And that's just kind of what, they do. They stick to it, and they don't stray from it. And so good on Notre Dame. They played some good clamps on defense there. DJ Ukulele, definitely he's not it. He's got the prototypical frame, body structure for a potential future NFL quarterback. He had the high school pedigree coming out, but the vast difference between DJ Uiagalelei and Trevor Lawrence is night and day. And then you even see it when the backup quarterback comes in for Clemson in garbage time or some other times. He moves the ball miles better than DJ Uiagalelei. So I don't know what kind of dirt he has on Dabo, but he's just not it.
Debo, no.
I see. Yes. My bad. Dabo's.
No, I know. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, not too much to touch on there. It was just Clemson, showing their true colors. Again, one last thing. I was in a lot of discussions this week about, or discussions, debates, whatever you want to call it, was the top four, and in my opinion, the top four this week was I mean, listen, a lot of people want to say that I'm a Big Ten bias and all this other stuff. I don't think it was a whole. I don't think it was a whole lot of Big Ten bias in this. My point to this was, all right. So they had Ohio State was 3. Alabama loses. Ohio State moves to 2, but Georgia jumps them to 1. And then Georgia flips to 3, and then Tennessee jumps Ohio State to 1. So my point was, why is Ohio State? So Tennessee came out, they beat Kentucky, number 19 at home, right? Mm-hmm. And then Ohio State came out and they played Penn State on the road, one of the toughest environments to play, if not the toughest, without Jackson Smith and Jigba. They come into a hostile environment without their best receiver, a top 10 receiver in this year's draft class. And they take care of business. They win by 2 touchdowns. And Penn State was ranked number 11th. Kentucky was ranked number 19th, but Tennessee jumped them in the rankings. And to me, that's – and then not only that, Michigan dropped out of the top 4. Clemson jumped them into the top 4, which we both agree should have never happened.
Right.
And my point on this was, this is the problem that I think that we have with the playoff, the current college football playoff, because right now, the college football selection committee, they're humans, of course, so they can be swayed, right? ESPN, in my opinion, this is what's happening. ESPN is under contract with the college football playoff, of course, until 2024. And 2024, that's up. In 2024, ESPN has an exclusive agreement with the SEC, right? So they're going to be streaming primarily SEC games. And if they add in the Pac-12 and Big 12, of course, they'll do that. But the Big 10 has exclusive agreements with Fox, NBC, and CBS, right? So it's the Big 10, the SEC, as far as the network battle goes. Both of those start in 2024. So we have the SEC with ESPN. The Big 10 has NBC, Fox, and CBS. So right now, there's incentive there for ESPN to push the SEC teams, seeing as it's in their own best interest in the future. And right now, nobody can say like, oh, they have an exclusive agreement with the SEC. However, we've known ESPN as an SEC bias, and there's a reason why they bid so high for the SEC. They want the SEC under their umbrella. And I think that's part of the reason we're getting the push that we are for these SEC teams, is because that, again, that's in their own best interest. Now, again, ESPN, of course, gets all the college football playoff games and stuff like that. But in 2024, I also think that's going to change. I think it's going to go to, it's going to go to a little bit of a rotation where it's going to be between, they'll get a playoff game on ESPN, they'll get a playoff game on NBC or Fox. And then I think the national championship game is going to rotate, and that'll take a lot of this out of it. That's just kind of my take on it. I was just kind of frustrated with the bias there in the top 4. And my whole argument was Tennessee, they did have a harder strength of schedule than Ohio State. But I think my argument here was the fact that, okay, well, Tennessee was ranked below Ohio State before, right? Mm-hmm. That weekend, Ohio State played a higher ranked team on the road without their best player, which does factor into, if you look at the criteria for the college football playoff, that does factor in. And then over here, you have Tennessee playing at home against Kentucky, the number 19th ranked team in the country. To me, that wasn't enough to leapfrog them. Now, had they been ahead of them already, I would have been like, okay, they can stay ahead of them. But that wasn't enough to leapfrog them. And I'm glad Alabama's out of it now. I'm glad that Clemson's out of it now, because, again, Clemson, of course, they're not, a Big Ten team. However, the SEC's rival right now is the Big Ten. There's incentive to get Big Ten teams out of there, and I'm glad that we stopped that right when it tried to start. So, but yeah, so that's all I kind of got on the college football slate. Do you have anything else that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to throw in my top 4 for my current college football playoff here. It's kind of a hot take. So I would like to preface that I don't believe any top 10 team that is undefeated should be excluded in favor of a 1 or 2 loss team. So, number 1, Georgia. I believe Georgia should have been number 1 the whole time. They never should have gotten leapfrogged by anyone, and they proved it. Georgia's number 1. Number 2 and number 3, and this will make for a fun first round of the college football playoff. I have Ohio State and Michigan. I understand they still have to play each other, but at this point in time, they're both undefeated. They're both playing exceptional football. Michigan kind of started off slow against Rutgers, and then they blew up. Is what it is. I'm not throwing any shade towards Ohio State for their game. The wind in that game was absolutely ridiculous. Did you see the video or the clip from the pregame kicking warmups and all that shit? Yeah. The wind was just disgusting.
That was horrible.
I'm not throwing any shade towards CJ Stroud and his stat line. I'm not throwing any shade towards anything. It's those kinds of games where, as a team, you figure out a way to make it work, and you make it work. And that's exactly what they did. So good on them. All right, number 4, probably the hottest take. Let's give a shout out to the old Purple Horned Frogs of Texas Christian University. Max Duggan. Now, I'm not saying that they are better than Alabama. I'm not saying they're better than USC, any of those guys. But they're undefeated. All these other teams, they have 1, they have 2 losses.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely hate when a team is not even given a chance. Look, if you put any one of those 1 or 2 loss teams up against Georgia in the first round, they're going to get beat anyway. So why not give the undefeated team the chance to really test at how good they are? And if they lose, guess what? Same thing's going to happen to the 1 and 2 loss teams anyway. So that's my top 4 right now. Just outside, I do have LSU just because, hey, they put on a hell of a game. Also, I'm looking at the rest of this right now. Probably going to be, I don't know in what order necessarily, but Oregon, Alabama, and then Clemson somewhere in there, I guess.
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny because you kind of stole. No, I'm just playing. You didn't steal it, but no. Same thought though. Same thought. TCU to me has got to crack the top 4. I'm a little bit of a different order though. I would go Ohio State 1, Georgia 2, Michigan 3, then TCU. But we got to look at it this way, right? Like TCU, of course, they've done what they've needed to do. They've taken care of business and they've won. Part of me, without the loss yesterday, wanted to put K-State closer into that. I'm very high on K-State, but it's just like
Adrian Martinez.
He came back and they lost to Texas, so I can't do it. But I mean, we got to understand that TCU actually doesn't. I mean, their schedule is not like horrible, right? They're 17th ranked strength of schedule right now. So I mean, you can't take too much away from them on that accord. And all they've done is come out and they've won. Regardless of how they beat Kansas State, they won the game. That's all that matters. But yeah, so for me right now, it would be Ohio State 1. Ohio State, come on, you got to give them a top slot at some point, right? They can't just be destined for number 2 for the remainder of the season. But I know Georgia's going to leapfrog them. But to me, the most complete team in college football is, of course, Ohio State. Georgia 2, Michigan 3, and then TCU 4. Again, yeah, same thing. I mean, it's hard to penalize the team that's just won. And I hate when we get into semantics of it and we're talking about, well, they're a Big 12 team and all this other stuff. Well, the 17th ranked strength of schedule, I mean, you look at other SEC teams. I mean, you got Florida right there at 12. Mississippi State at 14. So, I mean, if those two teams were undefeated, we'd be sliding them in the top 4 without a question, right?
Yep.
Because everybody would point to, well, they're SEC teams. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at it like this, you got to give them the credit. They're right there with those teams as far as strength of schedule goes, and we can't just criticize them because they're a Big 12 team. They've taken care of business, and that's harder to do. I mean, regardless of your schedule, that's not the easiest thing in the world to do, especially of a team like them of that magnitude where they haven't been consistently good. Yeah, so I like it. I'm right there in line with you on that one. So,
okay, yeah, that's all I had for college. Did you have anything else?
No, I think I'm good on that. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to touch on a few of those little notes there, but then, so we'll go ahead and we'll slide over to the NFL slate of games here.
While we slide over to the NFL, can you send me that password so I can make sure that we get up live on Facebook?
Yeah.
I figured for the college realm, like, you know, a lot of this is going to be geared towards the NFL, so I want to make sure we at least get up and get live for that. For
sure, absolutely. All right, guys. So yeah, just a heads up, so y'all know we are going live on our Facebook feeds, or on our Cheesy Corn Facebook feeds. So
yes, sir.
Let me go ahead and send this over to you. I'm actually going to have to go to the. So you'll have to log into the page, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
For it. So let me send this over to you. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. So I'm pretty sure this is it. I'll go ahead and text it over to you right now.
Yes. And so to everyone watching, if you guys do have any questions, good morning, Mr. Christopher. If you guys do have any questions regarding any fantasy football start-sit decisions, if you guys have like a pending trade or something that you want our opinion on, if you guys want our opinions on certain bets, obviously we're not going to tell you who to bet. However, we will give you our humble opinion on them. So go ahead and drop them in the comments. We will get to them. As we are still working out the structure of the show, but we are going to be fielding a lot more questions from the comment sections.
Yeah, and with that, we're going to kind of mold as viewers pop in and stuff like that, and we start to get ideas and see what kind of the pulse of the people are. What Tony say? Is your lineup ready? No, Tony, it's not. I know. Trust me.
That's
I
rich.
know. I have a kicker and a defense on a bye week.
I just thought it was rich that Tony was the one to.
Yeah, the guy who hasn't set his lineup in 2 weeks.
It's like fucking week 5.
He's giving everybody a free wins out here.
Not me.
People are upset. Yeah, he's out here trying to give me free wins, and I'm trying to tank. So I need to make sure he fixes his shit before he plays me again. Hold on, let me see if that I don't know if that password is right. Hold on 1 second. Tony, you got your lineup ready though? Do you have your lineup ready? He said yep, and 4-4.
Listen, man, I'm in here for the long haul. All right. So let's yeah. That's all I got, really. I don't really have any other leg to stand on as far as that.
Did it work on that?
I am setting it up right now.
Go. Going for the number 1 pick in 2023. Tony, you are no, I got his first round pick, so he can't get the first round. He can't get that first overall pick. What's up, everybody? If you're tuning in, we're getting live up on our Facebook here before NFL slate, and then we're gonna get kick started on the fantasy football primers. We're gonna go over some top 5s, our positional top 5s. We'll jump over some buys, some sells, and a hold or a cut. kind of what we want to do with certain players. I'll run over some potential waiver wire targets and stuff like that. So we're gonna get y'all primed and ready, and then we were gonna run over probably a couple betting picks. But yeah, we'll get that rolling in just a second. Tony, do you need my help with anything, man? Who you playing this week? Wait, you're not playing me, are you? No, I don't think he is. Tony, who you got this week? Hey, what's going on there? Yep. Any new viewers tuning in? We're going live on our Facebook real quick, and then we're going to get into the NFL work. So
if you want to go ahead and get started, I'm trying to figure this out. Facebook is so fucking weird with this.
Yeah, no. All right. So first things first, let's just get into a couple of the games real quick. I'm just going to run through real quick some of the games and the lines and stuff like that just to get us started. See if you have any questions on any bets or anything like that. Y'all can drop them in here. So we actually have a lineup question, Cheney, just whenever you get ready.
Okay, go ahead.
So, asking who they should sit between DeAndre Swift, Michael Carter, and Isaiah Likely. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm a big advocate of never starting two tight ends. I will never, ever start a tight end in the flex position, ever. Yep. And on top of that, Isaiah Likely, he did great last week, but he's also going up against the New Orleans defense, which is, for fantasy purposes, very good against receivers and tight ends. So, DeAndre Swift, I mean,
well, I will say a point of note that DeAndre Swift is actually supposed to be limited today, so he's supposed to be playing in a limited role today.
And I get that. I get that, but at the end of the day, you got to start your studs. I said it as my piece of fantasy advice 2 weeks ago. You got to start your studs. If they are playing, you got to start them. He was in a limited role last week. What did he do? He caught a touchdown. Still got you 15 points. Start your studs. Michael Carter, I don't like him. He's probably going to be losing his snaps over the course of these next few weeks while James Robinson gets settled into the Jets system.
Yep.
But at this point, I'm sitting Isaiah Likely.
Yeah, I'm sitting Likely too. It's between him and Carter again. Kind of like to his point. If DeAndre Swift is playing, I'm probably rolling him out there. Now I'm torn on this though because with the Jets, they're actually saying that Robinson is questionable. So that could pick up with Michael Carter more. So that's even more of a reason for me to go sit Likely. Again, Likely is a big boomer bust type of guy. So, I'm sitting Likely in that situation for sure.
Okay. All right. Let's go through the games here.
All right. So first things first. Yeah, Michael Carter. Yeah, he gets a lot of check down catches, and he does. And like I said, if James Robinson doesn't go, he's the guy. So, I mean, that one right there is just kind of a, DeAndre Swift's the best player out of those three, and Likely, we don't know really what his role is going to be yet. We do know that they love to target their tight ends. But I want to give it a week. I want to give it a week and see what he does. And then again, to his point, starting tight ends in a flex spot, especially against a team that's top 10 against tight ends is tough. So, you can barely find a tight end one that's startable these days consistently. Yep. So, all right. So first things first, we'll just high level overview. Chargers, Falcons. Anything to touch on there? Chargers 2.5 favorite.
I have the Chargers as my very simple lock of the week. That's look. I'm happy the Falcons have been competitive, but at the end of the day, if you can't beat the fucking Carolina Panthers, it's not even the fact that you lost to the Carolina Panthers. It's the Panthers were doing everything in their power to lose that game, right? And you still couldn't put them out until the very end of the game. I actually don't even remember who won that fucking game because all I remember is the wildness that occurred to get there, right? So, yeah, to me, take the Chargers. That's the lock.
Yep. I got to say I agree there. But Cordell Patterson's active, or he was activated. I don't know necessarily what his role is going to be there. But again, that offense is very it's good as far as like the Falcons offense is good as far as like if you just look at overall like efficiency of the or numbers of the offense, but it just doesn't. I don't know. It's like when I watch it, I don't see it, and partially because I want Drake London to get more damn catches. Mario needs to get him the football, but of course we know their MO right now is running the ball. So I'll touch on a couple players from that one later. Miami, Chicago, Miami -4. What do we got there?
It's going to be Miami. -4. Wow. That's actually surprising to me. Yeah. Tua has looked good when he's healthy. Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, easily becoming the best, if not already established as the best wide receiver duo in the league. You don't need a strong arm when you can throw it 10, 15 yards downfield and let them do the rest. Yeah. Raheem Mostert, who's remaining healthy right now, has looked good out of that backfield. Mike Gesicki, minus the little gritty touchdown dance that he does, has looked good as well in the red zone. And that defense is criminally underrated. So Justin Fields has stepped it up the past few weeks. They did trade for a receiver. I wouldn't really expect him to make that much of a difference this week. So good things coming. Well, good things indicating that they are coming for the Chicago Bears, but not right now.
Yep, I got to agree. So with that, we had a quick lineup question. I'm going to touch on a couple of the latest injury notes for the fantasy slate. So AJ Dillon or Kenyon Drake. I know you being a Packers fan. Let's go ahead and take your prediction on that one.
I got you. Okay. So you got to break it down, right? AJ Dillon has a easy cupcake matchup against a Detroit Lions defense who's giving up the most fantasy points to all running backs across the league.
That's a licking your chops matchup right there.
Yeah. However, he's still in a like 70-30, 60-40 timeshare with Aaron Jones, who is getting all the receiving work. He's getting the bulk of the carries. AJ Dillon just got 10 carries for the first time in, I think, 3 or 4 weeks last week, which they did move the ball well, surprisingly enough, given their opponent. But, and then you look at the flip side, right? Kenyon Drake has blown up 2 weeks now out of the 3 that he's been fantasy viable. I believe Gus Edwards is still hurt. I'm probably, although again, they're playing New Orleans, who is a very good defense against fantasy running backs. Nope. I'm going to go with Kenyon Drake. It's strictly a volume-based decision here. I mean, if those are the 2 that you're going to pick between anyway, you got to go with the opportunities. The efficiency shouldn't really be in question here. You got to go Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, so to me, these 2 are very, very close. I mean, if I was putting them on a ranking, I'd probably have them like right next to each other, mid-20s and like. So I think for me, I'm going strictly matchup here. Again, I don't like the snap count. I don't like that side of it for AJ Dillon. Me personally, I would lean AJ Dillon. However, understand your argument against it and your argument for Kenyon Drake, but give me just because I don't trust that backfield over there in Baltimore either. But just give me AJ Dillon on this one. I'm taking AJ Dillon, and assuming that it's I'm assuming that it's full PPR, since I guess most people will be doing PPR. But I'm taking AJ Dillon. Just give me that, and I got a 2 out of 5 star confidence rating in that one. But give me AJ Dillon.
Yeah, Couldn't agree more.
Okay, and then let me run over just a couple of the latest injury news coming up. So Damian Harris for the Patriots is inactive.
Fire Ramondre Stevenson.
Yep. Chuba Hubbard is inactive for the Panthers. Darren Waller is out. DeAndre Carter is active. He was questionable with an illness. And then I think that about covers the major news so far.
I just
Lazard's active too.
I would like to touch on the Panthers and their running backs here.
Yep.
If you guys are looking for a rest of season pickup, I'm not really sure the availability on them, especially because after McCaffrey got traded. Go get Deontay Foreman if you can, and if not, pick up Chuba Hubbard. The Panthers have the easiest running back schedule among all NFL teams for the rest of the year. They have a great fantasy matchup. I mean, you look at their soft-ass division this year, and it's primarily where it's coming into play here. But let me pull up their schedule here, and let's see. Oh, Chuba has 1B, apparently. There it is. All right. So you have Atlanta, Cincy, and Atlanta over the next 3 weeks. Then you have Baltimore, who's given up a lot of points defensively to running backs. Then you have a little tough one against Denver and then a bye week. But then your fantasy playoffs consist of bottom dwellers against Seattle, Pittsburgh, and Detroit. Like, that's getting you through the playoffs. Most championships are going to be week 17. And if you're really relying on a Carolina Panthers running back to win you a championship, maybe you shouldn't be in the championship to begin with. But that they are excellent flex options or emergency RB2 options. Spot starts right there going forward.
Yep. Yeah. And we know who Deontay Foreman was. That's his backfield as it sits anyways. So yeah. That's been made pretty clear after the first week that he was gone and that out of that offense over to the Niners. As soon as they traded McCaffrey, he clearly took over that backfield, which is painful because the Texans drafted him. So
he did. He came out of Texas, right?
Yes, he did. He is he was a beast at Texas, but the limitations, of course, were his receiving game. And I mean, it's clearly it doesn't matter. Just give the man the football and let him do what he does because he's looking like an animal and
talent over system, right?
Right. Well, and it's a little later in his career though. It's like he should have had these opportunities. Should have had these opportunities a long ass time ago. But yeah, talent over system change.
Absolutely.
All right. Cool. So yeah. So speaking of the Carolina game, that's the next one. Carolina, Cincy. Cincy -7.
Give me Carolina to cover. PJ Walker has looked absolutely tremendous. Week 1, not necessarily against the Rams, all the screens and stuff. He was getting his feet wet, getting the offense schedule or on check. But ever since then, PJ Walker has looked calm, collected, and act like an actual good talent at the quarterback position. The offense does look a little stagnant sometimes. Give him that. Yep. Shout out to the XFL, Houston Roughnecks legend. The only XFL MVP ever. But yeah. So, I mean, DJ Moore is happy that he has a quarterback now. And, the running backs are actually performing well. That you want to talk about another criminally underrated defense, Jeremy Chin and the Carolina Panthers. Jeremy Chin and Brian Burns are just tremendous. I think Jeremy Chin's still hurt, but when he's playing, he's a difference maker. Brian Burns is a top 10 pass rusher in this league. And people don't talk about him enough. So I will say that. Give me the Panthers to cover +7. I need to see that the Bengals can get it together without Jamar Chase. I have the confidence that they will, but I need to see it before I can put all my confidence in it.
Yeah, I'm avoiding that spread like the plague. Again, Carolina lacks in talent, but again, on the defensive side of the ball, they're good. Yeah, I'm avoiding that game. I do think Cincinnati. If I was a betting man, I think Cincinnati will get it together and they will cover. But they're just not inspiring any confidence in me. And again, without Jamar Chase, they'll get that offense going a little bit. They got to get T. Higgins. They got to get him the ball more. They didn't really do a good job of that last week. But like I said last week, what they need to do is they just need to give him a hefty dose of Joe Mixon. It's a heavy dose of Joe Mixon. They got to lean more on that running game. Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins are, T. Higgins is a one on most teams. So it's not like they're without a one. However, the offensive dynamic completely changes with the player of Jamar Chase's magnitude going out, and you got to just go. You got to change it up a little bit. You can't just get weaker in the pass game and continue to do what you've been doing, especially when they weren't doing it consistently to begin with. So lean more on Joe Mixon, as hard as that is, with Joe Mixon being the only running back in the NFL I see that runs straight into the back of his lineman. And Joe Mixon to me is just, I don't know, very overrated. The way that man runs the ball, I don't understand it sometimes, but yeah. I mean, lean on him, Samaje Perine. They're going to have to do that, but again, it's a good get right game against Carolina for them to try to get on the right track. I know the Carolina's defense is good, but when you have such a bad offense, and their offense is bad, if we're just being completely honest, our offense is bad. But when you have that bad of an offense, it's going to put your defense in bad situations. Your defense isn't going to be able to get them as much of a rest because they're constantly being thrown back on the field. I expect a whole lot of that to happen. I expect just Carolina's defense to wear down, and eventually the Bengals will pull away late in that one. All right. And any other fantasy players you want to touch on that one? To me, T. Higgins is a clear top 10 receiver this week.
I agree. If you haven't moved Tyler Boyd off your bench into your flex, wide receiver 2, whatever, I don't really know what you're doing at that point if you haven't already. While Jamar Chase is out, Tyler Boyd is a not sittable option. You got to find him in your lineup somehow, some way every week.
Yep. And, of course, you're starting Deontay Foreman.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I will say, DJ Moore is my sell high candidate of the week. Put up 27 points last week against the Atlanta Falcons. Had some great last-minute heroics, followed by some last-minute get off the fucking field. Thought he was Stephon Diggs, Minnesota Miracle style. But or Minneapolis Miracle, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
So he was tremendous, but I will say DJ Moore didn't really catch fire until the end of the game. So there was about 3.5 quarters where he was pretty average. So capitalize on the points, capitalize on the value, capitalize on the targets against a Atlanta Falcons defense where I don't think AJ Terrell was playing that game. So really capitalize on that and go forward and get some good value for him.
Yeah, I can see that. We got another question in here.
Let's do it.
If you want to take a look at this one, Joshua Palmer versus Michael Carter. Again, Michael Carter popping up.
Yeah, he's popping up, but I'm also sitting him. Josh Palmer is going to be the premier wide receiver 1 in that Chargers offense. I think this is a great opportunity for both Gerald Everett and Austin Eckler in the receiving game, but Josh Palmer as well. Someone's got to be out there on the X and Z routes and running those routes up against the corners. definitely start Josh Palmer.
I'm with you. I'm starting Josh Palmer personally in my league. I picked him up this week, and Josh, he immediately went my starting lineup. So give me Palmer there. He is going to get a lot of targets in that offense, and again, Michael Carter scares me. James Robinson's slowly going to be taking over there, and then James Robinson questionable this week, but still, Michael Carter doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me. I'm very high on Josh Palmer going into this week. So Palmer. Yep, no worries.
All right, so it looks like we did have another one. Okay, I'm assuming this is just a start one out of these three. You got Mac Hollins of the Las Vegas Raiders, Marquez Valdes-Scantling of the Kansas City Chiefs, or Terrace Marshall Jr. What do you got?
Oh, man. So this one's tough for me.
Yes.
MVS, as MVS very well. Man, this is a tough one. So me personally, I think I'm going. I'll go MVS. Mac Hollins. I don't know if he's even near startable in any lineup yet. Unless you're really active. Hunter Renfrow, as far as I know, but I haven't gotten the latest on that. Is he active? Okay, I was like, I haven't heard any different on it. So give me MVS over Mac Hollins, and then give me MVS over Terrace Marshall. So I would rank those MVS, Marshall, and then Hollins. But I just have a little bit more confidence in Valdes-Scantling. I would say start Valdes-Scantling for sure if it's just start one, and if it's sitting one, I'm sitting Hollins.
Yeah, so definitely sitting Hollins. I'm looking at the numbers here, and I feel disgusting in saying this, but I think I might be starting Terrace Marshall.
They're close. They're close.
Had a 93% snap percentage last week. Finishes the wide receiver 30, so right in that mid wide receiver 3 territory for the flex option. Had 9 targets. And actually, this is another great stash because we already went over the Carolina Panthers schedule for the rest of the year. It's actually even more favorable, apart from Denver and Seattle. It's even more favorable to the receivers than it is the running backs. So it's going to come down to how much do you trust PJ Walker, Steve Wilkes, and that Carolina offense to really move the ball. But Terrace Marshall has stepped into the wide receiver 2 spot of that offense. You got Laviska Shenault out of the slot, they're not even playing him. It's like Shy Carter or something like that. But yeah, so you got Cincinnati this week, but then you have Atlanta, who he already put up 12.7 points against. Then you got Baltimore, and then get him in the playoffs. You got Pittsburgh, Detroit, and Tampa Bay, all bottom dwellers against receivers. I'm starting Terrace Marshall this week.
Yeah, and looking at the matchup there, I'm sticking with MVS. However, both of them are in really favorable matchups as far as the secondaries goes. Tennessee secondary not good, and Bengals is probably the best matchup of the two. And the projected snaps is very similar. I think the projected snaps right now sits at Terrace Marshall's looking to get about 40, MVS about 42% of the snaps. Mm-hmm. At that one, it's a toss-up. I'm personally going MVS, mainly because of the offense.
Absolutely. MVS is always a deep ball threat. He could pop off a 60-yard touchdown catch at any point in time. So I don't hate that at all. Whatever you do, sit Mac Hollins. Got it.
Yeah, we can agree on that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So moving on to the next game here, Green Bay, Detroit.
Fantasy gold mine.
That's right. You already know who I got my eye on.
Hey, absolutely. I'm pulling for a lot of good fantasy production out of this game. I think this is a good get back game for Green Bay. They're finally back at home. Every single one of those losses was on the road, 4-game road trip. I mean, technically they were the home team against the Giants, but it was in London. So is it really a home game? No. Then you had the Jets. Or no, I'm sorry. The Jets was at Lambeau. Fuck, there goes that narrative. All right. Well, Sauce Gardner basically made Lambeau his home anyway. So
Sauce Gardner makes everybody everywhere his home.
God,
that
dude,
guy,
I hate how good he is. He's quickly. We can get to him when we get to our positional rankings.
Yeah.
But yeah. So good get back game here. Actually, I think Green Bay's in Detroit. I'm all over the place with this whole home away shit. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers is going to get back. He's going to throw 2 touchdowns. I was happy to see Samori Toure, little Nebraska, alumni right there.
Go Big Red.
He was showing the most prowess in actually just finding the open space in the defense against Buffalo. And that's exactly what happened on that like 30, 40-yard touchdown pass from Aaron Rodgers to him. And so there was that. Romeo Doubs came away with one of the catches of the week last week. Tremendous. And that's primarily what I want to see him develop into. More of that. And he could really become a good wide receiver 1 in that offense. It's just going to be a question of which quarterback is he developing with as the seasons go on. I think Aaron Jones is going to blow up this week. We touched on it with A.J. Dillon in the matchup against Detroit. Detroit gives up more fantasy points to running backs than any other team in the no fun league. So Aaron Jones with his receiving ability and his elusiveness on the ground as well, I would 100% expect Aaron Jones to go over 20 fantasy points.
Yeah. Like you said, fantasy gold mine here. Amon-Ra St. Brown, give me him in all the targets, all the receptions, all the yards. Amon-Ra
Give him
St.
the
Brown
sun god.
Sun God is going to go off this week. I'm telling you right now. For any game that Amon-Ra St. Brown has been healthy in, he's gotten over 11 targets and over 100 yards. That any game that he's been fully healthy in, like not on any injury report. When the dude is out there, he produces. When he's out there healthy, he produces. And then, of course, they just got rid of Hockenson, which really didn't cut into his target share too much. But I because we saw him at the end of the last season without Hockenson, and that was the knock on him, was just like, okay, well, TJ Hawkinson's out. What's going to happen when TJ Hockenson comes back? And he didn't miss a beat. So, but I mean, it's only going to help, right? For the few chances where Hockenson would take targets away. I mean, it wasn't a consistent thing clearly, but man, Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to eat this week. And again, A.J. Dillon, one of the best matchups you can possibly have as a running back against this team. Yeah. And that brings me to just one of my prop bets is going to be on this game. One of my prop bets is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown over 6.5 receptions. That's a big one.
I was going to say that's kind of a high line there.
Well, yeah, it's minus 139.
Shit. All right.
Which
Vegas
I don't like. Which I don't like. I don't like the value there, but
right.
I think 6.5 is a lock for him. So I think that's easy money, and you can even parlay it with, let's say, A.J. Dillon's total yards, which I believe his total yards right now is his rush yards right now. Mm-hmm. They got the over under at 38.5.
Oh my gosh. For reference, on 10 carries against the Buffalo Bills, he had 55 on the ground. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure what they're going with there. So yeah. That's Amon-Ra St. Brown's gonna have a day. That game's gonna be that's gonna be a pretty good game, I believe.
I think so.
All right. Any more fantasy news on that one?
No, just for reference for all viewers at home, anytime we reference any odds, values, lines, spreads, all of these are coming from Caesar Sportsbook. So the lines and odds might be a little bit different based on what sportsbook you're using. We are using Caesars, and we will remain using Caesars throughout the duration of not just this season, but throughout the duration of the podcast.
Yeah. And another note, if you're tuning in for the first time, feel free to drop a like, subscribe, so we can help you get ready for your fantasy weeks every Sunday. Every Sunday morning, 2 hours before the game, we're going to start. So, all right. Moving over to Indy, New England. I'm not really touching anything on this game. Maybe Jacoby Myers if you're out there and you need to start him. But
to me, it's Ramondre Stevenson. That's like the only for sure thing. I think
he's a lock to start though. Yeah.
I think Jacoby Myers does have good ceiling. Sam Ehlinger didn't look as bad as I thought he would look last week. So it does reinstill a little bit of confidence as far as Michael Pittman goes. Jonathan Taylor is out. So yeah. I don't know. It doesn't really matter who's starting at quarterback for the Patriots. To me, at least, they're Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi are basically clones of each other anyway. They play the exact same type of football. Yeah. So to me, Ramondre or bust. You said Damian Harris is out.
Damian Harris is out.
Okay.
He is officially inactive. So Ramondre Stevenson just might have slid into my top 5 running backs.
Sure, absolutely. So with Jonathan Taylor being out, Nyheim Hines is out of town now. He's in Buffalo. Deion Jackson, if you guys did pick him up, I know what he did his one game, 28 points, had a lot of receptions, everything. He's okay to start, but you need to temper your expectations of him, right? That was with Matt Ryan literally checking the ball down every single play. Temper your expectations. This is a good New England defense against running backs. So you can still start him, but don't expect this big, top 10 RB performance out of him. That's all I want to say on that.
Yeah. And Zach Moss, I think also inactive. So not a whole lot to touch on here. Jacoby Myers, he might be a start for you in a deep league. Again, I'm probably staying away from him for right now. Again, I'm starting Carter over him in this week's run of waiver wire pickups. So yeah, I'm avoiding a whole lot outside of just Ramondre Stevenson. Again, with Damian Harris inactive, Ramondre Stevenson immediately goes to a top 5 running back for me. I mean, the dude's been a top 5 running back regardless, but for sure he's gonna get a lot of touches in this game. This game's gonna be ugly. Similar to what your point, Zappi and Mac Jones are the same person essentially. The Colts, they can't score. I feel like this is going to be a lot of just them two. That it's going to be a lot of the Patriots running the ball and a lot of the Colts trying to figure out what the heck they want to do on offense. Give me the Patriots and Ramondre Stevenson to potentially put up he might be the top running back in fantasy this week. So
it's very possible.
So next up, Bills Jets. So in this one, of course, the line, huge line, minus 10.5 for the Bills. What's your thoughts on this one?
I absolutely love the narrative and the story for the Jets this year. The whole, Coach Saleh, keeping receipts of all of those who doubted him. I think it's great. However, they looked like absolute dog shit against New England Patriots. Bill Belichick just knows what the Jets do. Zach Wilson, I think the team plays better with him on the field, but he's not a good quarterback. He still makes way too many bad decisions that gets him into way too much trouble. So this offense was really humming when Breece Hall was in, and until James Robinson can really get a foothold in that offense and figure out, the system and how it works, it's going to be Buffalo for me. I mean, Buffalo was going to be me the entire way anyway, but I definitely think Buffalo covers that 10.5 spread right there. Stephon Diggs versus Sauce Gardner is going to be something I'm definitely looking at. I think this is going to be one of those matchups where we're going to look to be seeing just how good Sauce Gardner is. We know what Stephon Diggs is. But yeah, definitely look for that matchup. Gabe Davis is an excellent start this week. Just because he's not getting that cornerback one attention, and the cornerback one is giving that much attention to Stephon Diggs. So yeah, and if you guys haven't already had Nyheim Hines on your bench, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Nyheim Hines is probably rostered in your leagues.
Probably
by now. Hopefully. If not, get on it.
Yeah.
So to your point, Diggs versus Sauce is my biggest thing in this game. I mean, Stephon Diggs we have ranked as top 2 receiver overall. And then Sauce Gardner, 4th rated quarterback. Sauce Gardner is just putting people on his own little island out there, and he's dictating what they do. And I mean, he's good everywhere. He's good in coverage. He's good in run stops, pass rush. Like the dude can do a little bit of everything. And going against, probably in my opinion, the wide receiver 1, Stephon Diggs, it's going to be really interesting to see how that matchup fares out. I do think Diggs is going to get the better of him, but by the better of him, I do think that means Diggs is going to probably get about, I would say in the range of 75 yards ish, and maybe a touchdown. But yeah, so that's going to be very interesting to watch out. And Zach Wilson, to your point, Zach Wilson, not a good quarterback. Yeah, he's it's funny because his passer rating under pressure is 7.1. So yep. The thing here is get pressure on Zach Wilson, and they're not
hard to do.
They're not doing anything. Passer rating clean, pretty good actually, 109. But that's the thing, bring heat, and the guy he doesn't know what to do. He's bad under pressure, and that's where a lot of those checkdowns come from. So he might be checking the ball down a lot. He might be throwing a lot of interceptions, but regardless, Bills roll in this one. You're starting Diggs, you're starting Allen. Diggs is matchup proof. Doesn't matter. Give me the Bills on that one though. Even with the big spread, I'm still taking the Bills. Yep. Jets really good defense. We got to give credit where it's due. Their defense is very, very good all around.
Absolutely.
But I just think the Bills just the best team in the league. And again, defense can only do what the offense allows them to. If the offense is putting them in bad situations, then the defense is gonna suffer. They're not gonna get off the field. And I just think the Bills are gonna run them up and down the field in this one. So any other noteworthy things in that one?
Not really in that one. No.
All right, cool. Minnesota versus the Commanders. Old Jeffy B and Jay-Z's new team.
That's right. You think we
yeah, we need something. Yeah. Should be free anyways.
Yeah, it should be. What's the spread on this one?
All right, so this one -3 Vikings, and we got the old Heineke versus Cousins matchup.
Is this at FedEx Field in Washington?
This is in Washington, correct?
So Kirk Cousins, the return of the you like that.
Yep. Actually, just saw them play that this week. It was like, yeah.
Okay.
I really hope he comes on the field and just yells that.
Yeah. Give me Minnesota. one thing that Minnesota has consistently done this year is they've found ways to win football games. A lot of their games have been pretty close. It comes down to a final defensive stand. It comes down to a late touchdown. Comes down to something like that, right? And it doesn't really matter who they're playing either. They could be playing the worst team in the league or the best team in the league, and it usually runs the same way. The only time where we've seen them actually fully get exposed was the Eagles game when they were, Kirk Cousins in prime time. That's something we don't. What is?
He has risen.
Weirdo. He's just sitting facing the corner.
Hey, he put himself in timeout.
I don't know why. But yeah, so it I do like the Vikings here. It is Taylor Heineke does have the Commanders playing better football than Carson Wentz did. He trusts Terry McLaurin enough to go up and get those 50-50 balls. They started to re-involve Antonio Gibson back in the passing game, which I think is best for that offense. The Commanders' offense isn't one of those just hand the ball off and run between the tackles. No, in terms of their talent, they have to get creative with how they move the ball. They have to get creative with their play calling, which has proven to be a challenge, especially with Ron Rivera, the defensive-minded head coach. However, you do have Mike LaFleur, Green Bay's Matt LaFleur's brother, as the offensive coordinator. Or no, that's the Jets. Fuck, dude, I am all over the place.
It's okay. It's
but yeah,
still concussed from the fall.
Yeah, the Commanders they got to get creative with the play calling. They have in recent weeks. Heineke does use his legs well. And I think Chase Young was designated to return from IR. I don't know if it's this week or soon after that. So
check on that.
Yeah, you do have Montez Sweat still out there, who is one of the fastest edge rushers in the league. But with all that being said, the Vikings are playing some decent football. They did just get TJ Hawkinson after, man, they moved quick. They found out Irv Smith Jr. was going to be out 8 to 10 weeks, and they had traded for Hawkinson before we even heard about Irv Smith Jr. So we were kind of like, what does this do for Irv Smith? Oh, he's out 8 to 10 weeks. That's why.
There goes my fantasy tight end.
So, hey, you know what? I'm glad some NFC North teams are making moves for pass catchers. Not the teams I want, but hey, it is what it is. So,
no team in particular, right?
Fucking dog shit. We're not getting into that right now. So, yeah, give me Vikings -3.
I'm Vikings -3 as well. Heineke, he doesn't do much for me. Again, Heineke's another one of those that under pressure he can't throw the ball. Their offense is just abysmal. They're 29th ranked offense in the league. Vikings have the 22nd defense in the league, which still doesn't instill much confidence in me. But I believe the Vikings offense is just better. Washington, to your point, 10th best defense in the league, which is very surprising. But I just think with the way that team's constructed and the way they've been playing, they're playing very well and doing it to Cousins' strengths. And that team is designed again around Cousins. We know what he is. He's a good quarterback, right? But it's designed around him, and it's really playing to a lot of his strengths. And their 6-1 record shows that team right now is, and I still think they're better than a lot of people are giving them credit for. They have the 27th ranked strength of schedule. That's the only thing that probably can be held against them. And then also against, again, the defense just hasn't been very good. But again, they're doing what they have to do to take care of business. And the Commanders with Heineke, it's just what do we, who are they? Got Brian Robinson. What is their offense? Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson, but they're still not. They're not utilizing any offensive system right now to me that will give any kind of consistency. They should be leaning more heavily on the run game right now, and I think that's what they need to do in this game. I think they need to come out and try to run the ball, get Heineke in situations where he can run off the play action, because again, under pressure, that's the only way they're going to keep the pressure off of him, is if they start running play action. But I mean, they're still 35-65 as far as run to pass ratio goes. If I was them, I'd be relying a lot more on my run game. I mean, the running backs, of course, are nothing to write home about, but I think that that'll give them more success than just dropping back and passing 65% of the time and hoping Heineke can just figure something out. Now the Vikings run pass ratio is the same, about 65-35. But again, their efficiency per play is about 30% better than the Redskins per run, and then per pass it's about 15% better. So like, they're just more efficient in both aspects, and yeah, I like Cousins a lot, man. It's hard not to root for Kirk Cousins for whatever reason.
Captain Kirk.
It's hard not to root for him, but yeah, they're just they're gaining confidence with me as far as how good they are. I know that's hard for you to say as a Pack fan, but
yeah,
I just like their system, and I like what they're doing there, and they've got that thing going. They got the thing humming again. I don't think they're going to be up there with the elite just because of the defensive deficiencies, but yeah, I mean, top 10 offense with Kirk Cousins at the helm. It's a lot to be said about that. So give me the Vikings.
Yeah, they're one thing I will say about Minnesota, and even Chicago is kind of like leaning towards it too, right? And Detroit, they're making good moves to actually become competitive within the division. That none of them are Super Bowl contenders. Green Bay is not a Super Bowl contender. It is what it is, but especially Minnesota, they're making moves to not only catch up to Green Bay, but surpass them. And they are firmly in the driver's seat to win the division this year. Probably find themselves in, they're going to have a really good record. Their record is probably going to finish higher than what the actual team's like talent is. Because you touched on the bottom third defense. However, they do have a top 10 offense, but it's going to, I fear once they go and they play one of those top offenses, they're just going to get smacked around. We saw it with the Eagles game, right? What happens when a defense can stop that offense?
Yeah.
So it is what it is, but and that was my biggest gripe with Green Bay is Green Bay doesn't make moves to ensure that they will stay at the top. They don't trade for receivers. They don't draft receivers. They don't look at the team as a whole. They don't see, okay, this is where we're bad and this is where we're good. So what can we do to keep what's good while fixing what's bad? Yep. And it is what it is. But that's my little mini rant on Green Bay and the NFC North really as a whole. But the skill gap between all the teams there is a lot more narrow than it has been in recent years.
Yep. All right, so let's move over to Raiders Jags. Raiders Jags again. Darren Waller is inactive in this one, so that'll change the complexity a little bit on this one. I'll let you go ahead and kick it off.
So as far as fantasy goes, give me all
spread's 2.5. By the way, since the Waller news, spread is
in favor of who?
It's actually Vegas minus 2.5 right now.
Okay, give me Jacksonville plus 2.5 then. You're at Jacksonville. You're in the rain. The Vegas Raiders, they play in a dome. They're going to be out in the elements. It's not going to be a fun time for them, right? Fantasy purposes go, give me Trevor Lawrence, give me Travis Etienne, give me Christian Kirk, even give me Zay Jones for all that matter, and even give me Evan Ingram. That offense, as far as fantasy goes, just works. Travis Etienne is establishing himself as the RB1 in Jacksonville. Well, he is the RB1 in Jacksonville, but also he's establishing himself as a top 15 running back in the NFL as far as fantasy football goes. And then I look at the Raiders, who they do have some pieces. However, they just don't match up position-wise, right? Derek Carr is having a terrible season. Mm-hmm. And I'm very happy that I was right about Derek Carr. All of the slander that was coming into the season, all the slander that was being given to Kirk Cousins should have been given to Derek Carr. Mm-hmm. Derek Carr, only 9 touchdowns on the season, 5 interceptions. He's just not good. He's currently the QB 21 in fantasy. Josh Jacobs is having a great year. Very happy for him. However, he did finally come crashing back down to earth. Only had a 55% snap share actually against New Orleans, but we already touched on New Orleans is a good fantasy defense. So I would expect Josh Jacobs to kind of run wild here against the Jaguars, just because their defense really isn't anything that's going to be cracked up to be really. I expect a big bounce back game for Devontae Adams, who he was sick with the flu last week and just really didn't get it going against New Orleans. Expect a big bounce back game for him here. But at the end of the day, I still like Jacksonville plus 2.5.
Yeah, I'm picking Jags straight up money line to win this game. Again, like with Trevor Lawrence, it's like they're trying to figure out what they have with them still. We've seen moments of just greatness, and then we've seen him make some really terrible decisions. Mm-hmm. But I feel like more recently, he's been starting to trend back to what he was earlier this season. If you remember correctly, he came out the season hot out the gates, struggled there a little bit. And we've also been seeing Travis Etienne get a lot more touches in that backfield. Etienne last week had 156 yards and a touchdown on 24 carries. Yeah. So
slide over here this way. My bad.
No, you're good. And then the coaching staff has said that he's going to have a similar workload going forward. So we know he's going to just get a lot of touches. The Raiders, one of the best run defenses in football. But until somebody slows down ETN, I mean, it's just volume at this point. Like I'm taking the volume. Yep. Last week, what was it? A 49-yard touchdown run. So
yeah.
So yeah, I mean the big play potential's there. The Raiders, I don't know who the Raiders are. I just don't think they're good at all outside of the run defense. I mean, they couldn't score against the Saints, was it? And then they crushed us. Well, I mean, that game was closer than the scoreboard indicated. Davis Mills threw a pick six there that kind of put us out of it. Devontae Adams is playing, so that's a good sign. Darren Waller's out again. Josh Jacobs has been the most important key to that team. That team's going to go where Josh Jacobs takes him. Mm-hmm. I think the Jaguars offense becomes a little bit more dynamic with the key with who they have in place, and as they start to click a little more, as Trevor Lawrence starts to keep this momentum going on top of getting ETN going. I think that's the thing, is just like, I think ETN's just a better running back than what they've had there in the past. And heavy dose of ETN is going to open up that vertical passing game so much, and that's going to open up a lot of opportunities for Trevor Lawrence to just go out there and dominate. Give me the money line. Give me Jaguars to win this one. I don't feel comfortable ever betting on the Raiders, to be honest. But
That's fair.
yeah, Etienne goes out there and has a day against a really good run defense, in my opinion. And then Trevor Lawrence, I think he's going to be highly efficient. He's going to go out there and get a couple touchdowns. But yeah, I like the Jags easy in this one.
Okay. Yeah. We do have a couple start sit decisions here in the comments. Trey says, morning gents, full PPR, sit 1. Juju, Tyler Boyd, or Josh Palmer. Thanks and good luck today. What do you got?
I think out of those 3, I'm sitting Juju.
Yep.
I like
pretty simple.
Yeah. I like Boyd, and especially Boyd. I mean, Boyd, we've seen him go out there and put up over 100 yards when Jamar Chase and T. Higgins were healthy. Again, it's going to be a hefty dose of Boyd in this offense, because now you got T. Higgins being shadowed by the number 1 every week. So, and Josh Palmer, again, I'm really high on Josh Palmer. He's going to be a target. He's going to be a target monster in that offense right now. So yeah, I'm sitting Juju right there.
Okay. Yeah. And then we also have Vade saying, yo, pick 2. Michael Pittman Jr., Adam Thielen, Cordero Patterson. It's actually a really good question. To me, Pittman is going to be one of them. You got to lock in Pittman as 1. I'm probably leaning Patterson, if I'm being honest here. Yeah, I mean, Cordero Patterson was having a great season up until he got hurt. And Adam Thielen just hasn't been it this year. You know what I mean? Like, if we pull up his numbers here, right? Adam Thielen only had 4 catches. Okay, he's had 4 catches or less in 4 of the 7 games this year. He's been under 13 points in those 4 or in 4 of those games. He's been saved by a couple touchdowns a couple times here and there. The targets are there, but it doesn't seem that the efficiency really is. His yards per catch has actually been down a lot. It's been hovering at right around 10. And they're not using him in the red zone as much as people thought. He's 32 years old. He's a receiver. He's getting older, and he's starting to show that age. Cordero Patterson was on a tear before he got hurt. And Michael Pittman Jr., that's a strictly talent decision right there. I mean, who else are they going to throw to? Alec Pierce? No. They're going to go with Michael Pittman, and I think they've been doing a good job with that.
Yeah, I'm Pittman. He's the wide receiver 1 in that offense. He's the only person that they have to throw to. Again, week 8 didn't instill much confidence in you. 5.3 fantasy points is not going to make anybody happy. But again, the offense is what it is, but you got to go with the fact that Pittman is the man there. He hasn't had a touchdown since week 1. That's going to change eventually. I'm just thinking Pittman, probably then Thielen, and then Patterson. But I'm starting Pittman personally, just because, again, number 1 man in that offense, they got to go to somebody, and it's going to be him. And that touchdown streak has to end eventually. So, yeah, I'm taking Pittman here. And then Thielen's close behind, but again, Thielen, again, wasn't what we thought he was going to be. Pittman has just got the more opportunities, and he's got the higher upside, in my opinion.
Yep. So keep in mind that 5.3, I believe, is in standard scoring. I'm showing here PPR.
Yes. Yeah.
12.3.
Yeah. Yep. So, and I think that about covers the questions we have, right? Yep. Okay, cool. So we're caught up on questions. If y'all got any questions, keep dropping them in there. All right, so we'll move on to the next game here, which will be Seattle versus Arizona.
This is kind of another fantasy gold mine right here. Geno Smith playing well.
Yeah.
He
Sorry. To that point, I guess I'll start throwing out the standard and the PPR since I'm in both leagues. So my sleeper league is PPR and my Yahoo league is standard. So
gotcha.
Yeah, since people play standard still, and it's just not fun.
Standard. It's not even like it's not even standard to play standard. Like,
listen, I drafted a PPR team and found out after the fact that it was a standard league, and we're just we're making it work where we can. All right.
Yeah. Hey, it is what it is.
But anyways, yeah.
What's the spread for Seattle and Arizona?
So this is -1.5 Cards.
Wow.
I'll check to see if that's up to date.
I mean, if that is, give me Seattle. Seattle's 5-3. Seattle's playing very good football. Kenneth Walker has exploded onto the scene since Rashad Penny went down. Geno Smith playing very well for fantasy football purposes. He's a top 10 quarterback this year.
Yep.
DK Metcalf is actually someone that I was completely wrong about. I thought with Russ leaving, DK Metcalf would really come crashing down to earth. DK Metcalf has actually been very well. He's right around that wide receiver 2 territory. Had a couple down weeks in weeks 6 and 7, but he continued the double-digit targets in week 8, 17.5 points, and that was with him injured. So he was fully practicing on Thursday, so he should be fully good to go up against Arizona this week, who their secondary is just abysmal. Tyler Lockett, same thing, would have had an even bigger game last week, but he dropped the ball literally hit him in the face mask and he dropped a touchdown.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It's very uncharacteristic of him because I can't remember the last time I remember Tyler Lockett dropping a pass like that.
No.
And then you move over to the Arizona side. James Conner, it does look like he's leaning to play. So, Benjamin, it was fun while it lasted. You can resume your spot on the bench. But with James Conner and his health issues, don't drop him. You know what I mean? Like, Keep him stashed. You might need him again, especially as the season goes on.
Especially if Connor's your running back.
Yep.
But handcuff that.
You're starting Kyler Murray. You're firing up D-Hop, obviously. Zach Ertz, same thing. I think Rondale Moore is a good start this week. I mean, just looking at it now, he's had, ever since coming back from injury in week 4, right? Mm-hmm. He's had 8+ targets 3 of those 5 weeks. He has had 6+ catches in each of those 3 weeks. And he's had at least an 86% snap share in every single game. He is now the wide receiver 2 since AJ Green went to the nursing home and retired. He didn't actually retire. He's just not good anymore. Rondale Moore finally caught a touchdown this past week, tallied 7 catches, 92 yards. And put up 23 points in PPR formats. So I think if he's available, it says in Sleeper, he is rostered in 77% of leagues. So if you're on one of those uncommon 23%, not rostered leagues, definitely go pick him up. I picked him up in one of my leagues. And I'm going to be looking to use him as bye weeks and injuries become more of a thing.
All right, let's see if no, he hasn't shut up. Apologies for my dog going crazy out there. Hopefully it's not too distracting. It's very distracting in my ear. I will say that much. Hold on, let me on. Didn't work.
My dogs are not morning animals. Either.
This guy wouldn't leave me alone. So So Seahawks. Give me the Seahawks there again. Jesus, man. All right, D-Hop. He's going to be for me. Yeah, clearly a must start wide receiver one. You're starting D Hop every week. It's a good matchup for him too. Good matchup for him and DK actually on both sides and Lockett. Neither one of these secondaries and it really drives much fear into your heart. It's a good matchup for both of them. To your point about Rondale Moore, I think there's a chance that Rondale Moore does see a little bit more receptions. However, his average depth of target is not very high. So would like to see them give him a little bit more of kind of a little bit more of a chance to break some big plays open. Again, I think right now their offensive system is they're again moving D-Hop around in a lot of different ways. They're putting D-Hop in slots and stuff like that, moving them to the right and left side of the field as opposed to primarily on the left. And he's eating right now. And eventually that's going to lead to Rondale Moore getting a lot of opportunities. But they need to get Rondale Moore in space and let him do his thing. I do think he will get a few receptions this week. He is getting some more targets. Again, when D-Hop first came back, it was D-Hop, and a lot more of D-Hop. But yeah, so give me that. DK, of course, you're starting DK. Geno Smith, again, to my point I said last week, I want everybody to kind of pay attention about this, to this with Geno Smith and what Geno Smith does that makes this offense tick. And what I want a lot of people to pay attention to is his commitment to the run game again. Pay attention to him on very similar plays where he's either play action bootlegging or just handing the ball off. And the consistency in the way he goes about it is the exact same. And it's working for every single week. And it's made Geno Smith what he is. It's made that offense what it is. His commitment to selling the run when they're not running, and when they are running, he's treating it as if it were a pass play. That's how he's acting, as if each play was the opposite. And that's giving the D lineman and the second level a lot of that. They're on their heels. They're guessing. They don't know whether to crash down and take the boot. They don't know whether to sit down in the flats, and they don't know whether to go attack the run and fill the gap. And right now that's creating a lot of confusion. And that's what's making that offense hum right now. And it's what has Geno Smith playing at a high level. So I like DK a lot in this one. Over under was at 5.5 receptions for him. So I like DK a lot. Of course, I like D-Hop a lot. You're starting Kyler, clearly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I definitely like the Seahawks in this one for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we have a couple questions here. One is a betting question, and the other one is back to fantasy. So let's start with, what are your thoughts on Terry McLaurin over 68.5 receiving yards?
So it's Terry McLaurin over 68.5, you said?
Yes.
I actually like the under in that one. I like the under on both receptions and receiving yards. I think the reception over under is 4.5. But I like the under there. Not a ton of confidence in that bet, but like as far as like either way. But if I had to bet, I would definitely take the under 68.5 there.
Okay. And then Mr. John says, great stream. Start Josh Palmer, Kenyon Drake, or Michael Carter. We talked about all three of these guys previously. Yep. I'm still rolling Josh Palmer.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm rolling Josh Palmer. I don't have a lot of confidence in Kenyon Drake or Michael Carter at all. Kenyon Drake, I'm gonna say this week, just if James Robinson is out because he was questionable. If it's out of those two this week between just Carter and Drake, you know what? I'm still leaning Drake, but I'm not very confident in it. But Palmer over this two, yeah. Again, Palmer I'm very high on, so yeah. I'm taking Palmer there.
Gotcha. All right.
Thanks for the questions, by the way, guys.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's keep it moving here. And our next game on the slate is going to be the Rams versus Tampa.
Rams, Tampa. Ugh. Well, that had a lot more juice like a
Early
season
on.
ago.
Yeah, right.
What's the spread on this one?
So right now I'm looking at it. It is -3 currently.
In favor of
Oh, I'm sorry, Tampa.
Yeah, I like that. Cooper Kupp has been dealing with that ankle injury. Says he's good to go, but I don't know. He did get rolled up on pretty bad there at the end of last week. And outside of Cooper Kupp, I mean, Al Robinson has kind of picked it up lately. You know, good for him, I guess. But Tampa they just have more talent across the board, really. Leonard Fournette, you know, I'll take Leonard Fournette over Darrell Henderson any day of the week. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin as a duo, I will take over Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson. I absolutely love Chris Godwin in this game, actually. Mike Evans and Jalen Ramsey are going to be going at it all game, but I love Chris Godwin in this game. Chris Godwin has had double-digit targets in 4 of his 5 games. I'm not counting week 1 where he went out pretty quickly. So in 4 of the 5 games since week 4, he's had double-digit targets in 4 of those.
Yeah.
He's had at least 6 catches in every single game since week 4. He doesn't have a touchdown, though. He has 0 touchdowns on the year, which is very surprising.
He's my buy candidate. If you got an opportunity
100%.
to go get Chris Godwin, go get him.
Yeah, because the fact of the matter is he has 0 touchdowns, and yet he has yet since week 4 to go single digits in scoring from a PPR format perspective. Yeah. It's just, yeah. John says, shout out to the Penn State legend Chris Godwin. And
does Cooper Kupp go nuclear this game? Yes, in my opinion, yes. I think Cooper Kupp's going to have a day.
Okay. Yeah.
I just think he's going to go. I think he's going to go off.
It's possible. I'm
talking A+ targets. Yeah.
That's fair. I'm a little more.
I'm sorry. A+ receptions, not targets. A+ receptions. He's going to go over double-digit targets. But yeah.
And then we also have Hayden Hurst or Evan Ingram. I like Evan Ingram a lot, actually. We talked about that Jacksonville offense and what they've been doing lately. I'm a big fan of Evan Ingram and what they've been putting together. So,
yeah, I think I like Ingram there too. It's really tough for me to ever say I like Hayden Hurst. I don't know what it is. He did win me that prop bet that one time, though. I will say that Hayden Hurst did win me a lot of money, but I mean they're right there. They're 1A, 1B as far as like when we're probably ranking them. But I give Evan Ingram a slight edge. They're both top 10 tight ends this week, but yeah, Evan Ingram just slightly.
Gotcha. Does Justin Jefferson, aka him, end up as the wide receiver 1 overall? No. Stephon Diggs. That's it. That's all. Stephon Diggs.
Wait, are we talking for the season or this week?
For the season, I think.
Let's clarify that.
Yeah. For the week, it could be Justin Jefferson, for sure. For the season, I mean, it could also be Justin Jefferson, but I'm still rolling Stephon Diggs.
Yeah. Yeah. This week. Okay.
Not Stephon Diggs.
So who do you think for this week then?
I'm trying to like run through it all real quick in my head. Let me see.
I got Tyreek. He's got the best. He's got the best matchup. He is the best matchup. This week Tyreek Hill is my number 1. Are the Eagles a product of their schedule like the 11-0 Steelers? Yes, 100%. They are a product of their schedule. Absolutely.
I don't know if it's 100%. Like
we'll get into your wide receiver 1 first, and then we'll go into that one.
Okay.
So, what was your take on that?
do I go hot take or no? Yeah, I can see Justin Jefferson doing it this week against Washington. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm locked in on Tyreek. Give me Tyreek. He's my number one in my rankings this week as far as just
And it's cute that he's calling me biased about Stephon Diggs because I have him in the league that I'm with John in. I have Justin Jefferson in my work league. So like either way, the bias is not there. But on the season, it's going to be Stephon Diggs just because of the offense, really. And for this week, no, Sauce Gardner, I think, is going to have a little bit, is going to give him a little bit of trouble. He's still going to do well because, as you said, he's matchup proof. But yeah. So let me know when you want to talk about the Eagles.
All right, we can go ahead and go into that. So yes, my take on the Eagles is they are very much a product of their schedule. I think they're good. Don't get me wrong, I do think they're good, but I don't think they're contender. I don't think they're contender. I mean, contenders. Let's put it this way: the NFC is very weak this year, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So I do believe they're contenders in the NFC, but I just don't think they're up there with the tier of the Bills and teams like that. I think they do what they do very well. They manage the flow in the offense. They run the ball a ton, but I don't know what happens when a team gets them out of that rhythm. What happens when a team schemes and gets them out of that rhythm and Jalen Hurts just has to drop back and throw? I don't think their offense is complete and well-rounded enough to be able to stop or to make changes. I don't think Jalen Hurts is versatile enough to be able to make those changes on the fly and be able to change that offense up. So what happens when they get down big and they can't run the ball? Or when teams are just scheming them out of that. So,
yeah. So I agree. I do think we need to see the Eagles actually face some real like adversity. The one thing I will say against the Eagles here is I haven't seen them play elite football for 4 straight quarters. Mm-hmm. I've consistently seen them go out and immediately put up 2-3 touchdowns in the first half, go up, and then just barely score at all the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. I really want to see them put together those 4 quarters before I really put them in the elite conversation. Jalen Hurts is playing like an MVP. It's not as much of a runaway race, kind of like, Lamar Jackson, his MVP season. We knew early on he's the MVP this year. Patrick Mahomes, same thing. It's not as close or it's not as big of a gap is what I'm trying to say here. I think the addition of A.J. Brown was tremendous.
Absolutely.
It's good to see Miles Sanders resurge back as an actual useful running back as well. And the questions are rolling in. I love it. So I won't spend too much more time on it here because I would like to get all of the questions here before like the game start and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So does Jalen Hurts pull a Lamar Jackson in the divisional round, MVP season, then blow it in the first playoff game? It's very possible. I mean, Jalen Hurts has very little playoff experience. So definitely could happen. Yep. So then we got A.J. Brown making Hurts look like an MVP, but he's literally barely better than Daniel Jones.
Oof.
Well, that's kind of a hot take, isn't it? Daniel Jones, I think Daniel Jones' ceiling is like Kirk Cousins level. You can't really go much higher than that. Okay, question. In a half PPR league, currently starting Cordero Patterson and Kamara for my flex. Do I play DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, Khalil Herbert, or slide in a receiver like Christian Kirk or Romeo Doubs?
All right. So out of the first 3 with Swift, Jamal, Herbert, and Williams, I'm going to take Williams slightly there just because Swift being in limited action, and we've seen what Jamal Williams does. You know, he's a running back one when he's getting the touches there, and if he's going to be getting the majority of the snaps there, I like Jamal Williams there. And then what was he, or slide in a wide receiver like Kirk or Dobbs? Yeah, give me. I still think I'm leaning Jamal Williams there. What's your take on that?
So when it comes to a flex play, right? I really like to play for the ceiling. I don't like to play for a floor. That's going to be where the safety net of like my RB2 or my wide receiver 2 is. For my flex play, give me Christian Kirk. I actually really like Christian Kirk in this. Kirk started the season tremendously, right? And then you have, it would help if I would spell his name properly. Okay.
Yeah, Williams is a TD vulture to his point.
He is a touchdown vulture. But I think he is viable as long as DeAndre Swift remains on that limited role until he's fully healthy again. So Christian Kirk has a great matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders. Christian Kirk has, 5 games this season with at least 7 targets. 2 of those are double-digit targets. He's got 4 touchdowns on the year, which is good. He's, I think he has a safe floor, and he has the ability to really reach up to a ceiling. So I'm going to be rolling Christian Kirk on this one.
And then he said, would you then play Kirk over Palmer? I'm taking Palmer. I'm taking Palmer.
I'm still taking Palmer. Just because he's the premier wide receiver 1 in that offense, and Jacksonville is a little more spread out. Zay Jones actually gets a good number of looks, as well as Travis Etienne in the passing game, and Evan Ingram as well. And you still have Marvin Jones Jr. in there too, and Jamal Agnew. So there's a lot that could go wrong in there. But I think as far as a flex play like that, Christian Kirk, for me, is the way to go, but don't start him over Joshua Palmer.
Yeah, it's close there with Kirk and Palmer, but I'm taking Palmer just because, again, I'm very high on Palmer this week. So, yeah, especially with Palmer being in the better matchup. So, is Brandon Cooks officially done for the season? No word on that yet. I'm a Texans fan, so I haven't got official word, but I wouldn't bank on him coming back anytime soon. They seem like there's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be a John Wall type of situation where he just holds out. But they do have him under contract for another season after this year. So he might try to force the hand and sit out and get them trade in this offseason. But yeah, he's not happy. So I don't expect him to be back anytime soon. Any thoughts before we got 2 minutes?
Let's finish this up here because the games are starting in approximately 2 minutes.
And I got to fix my lineup. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. We're going to do this every Sunday again. It's going to be 9 a.m. Arizona time. To make it 12
8
Central,
Pacific, and
12 Central, 1 Eastern.
It'll be 11 Eastern. Yeah.
So it's 3 hours. Yeah, 2 and 3 hours. So yeah, 11 Eastern.
Yep.
All right, cool. So so it'll be 8 Central then.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah. So go ahead and tune in, every Sunday. Join us here. One more question. So 1 running back, flex, Mostert, Swift, Deion Jackson, Boyd, DJ Moore, full PPR.
So choose 1 running back and then 1 for the flex.
Yeah, 1 running back, 1 flex. Sorry.
Give me Mostert. He's been playing well. And give me Tyler Boyd.
I'm going. I'm going Boyd for sure, and then probably Swift. But I wouldn't fault you for going Mostert just because, again, Swift being on the limited snap count, especially I think Me personally, I would go, if I had the two, I'd go Swift. But Raheem Mostert is a top 20, potentially 15 upside. So I do think Raheem Mostert's upside's higher. So if you want to go with the higher upside, definitely Mostert.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, that'll do it for this week's, and I appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate all the questions. If you want to join us, subscribe and hit the bell notification so you'll be alerted when we go live, like the stream. And yeah, so we're going to go, and then Gabe hops into the last second and says hot dog or corn dog. He couldn't find the stream. He said he couldn't find the stream. I told him it's right in front of him on YouTube. No, corn dog.
Hot dog.
But yeah, so that'll do it for us, guys. Go ahead and like again. Let us know what you thought of it. Any suggestions, and yeah, hop in here every week. We're going to be answering questions. That's the majority of what we want to do is we want to be able to help y'all set your lineups in advance for the week, be able to help you win your leagues. So join us every Sunday. Again, 2 hours before the games start, we'll be here every single Sunday. So anything before we head off and play the outro, Martin?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you all for tuning in. We will catch you guys next week.
Thanks for checking out the Cheesy Corn Sports Podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss an episode. For more information or to connect with Justin and Martin, check out Cheesy Corn Sports on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll see you next time on Cheesy Corn Sports.